fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got with the outside, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my god! Oh. Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go! Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Thank you for joining us at Simspeed TV for round 11 of the Ozicar Formula 4 Series. But look at that spider sculpture coming at you from Barber Motorsport Park, Birmingham, Alabama. What a great series this has been so far in the Formula 4 cars. Some of the Australian sim racing community's best drivers. And the way these cars race, it's always so close, so competitive. We have never been short of action to call, and hoping that continues tonight from Barber. David Haynes here with you, alongside Jason Fewens and Jay Kennedy with our production. Jason, we've really enjoyed this series, but there's only a couple rounds and a couple of races left.
Yeah, it seems like it's been going on for a while, but with the fortnightly format that the Ozicar Formula 4 Series produces, it has strung it out over a bit of a window, but we're getting down to the pointy end of the season now, so a lot of these drivers really need to take note tonight into how they're going to handle around this Birmingham, Alabama circuit. 3.8 kilometres around this circuit, and quite a tricky track to get hold of.
Certainly is. It is a torture for left-hand side tyres around here. Really quick, trying to carry the speed, constantly turning through turns 2 and 3. Tough section over there at turn 7 where you've really got to ride across the curbs. In this car that doesn't like doing that so much. Should easily be flat out through 9 and 10, but then it's another really long right-hand turning section through 12, 13, 14 at Charlotte's Web, I think it is, over at that part of the track. Great overtaking opportunity, though, always at turn 5 because of that challenge that turns 2 and 3 create. And it is a big braking zone across the crest downhill there. So I would say we might see some passing many places around this circuit. But turn 5, odds-on favourite.
Yeah, turns 2 and 3 can be quite tricky. We'll see a number of drivers take different racing lines through there, and of course that's going to affect how they approach turn 5. So interesting out there at the moment as the drivers are getting close to finishing qualifying. There's quite a spread between the field tonight, so that really might mix up the grid a bit, and we might see some drivers that are normally at the pointy end of the field that might be buried just a little bit further back than normal.
So, plenty of racing coming up. Qualifying about to wrap up, and then we can get into it. Still, I think, a 3-way championship fight here as well. And Cam Dance, Thomas Hinz are right at the top of qualifying. James Chastinov not as high up as he might have liked to have been, though. So we'll see what he can do throughout the racing tonight. There is those fellas. Cam Dance on the left. I don't know what's gotten his little goat. And Thomas Hinz. Well, there's no empty bottles on the floor this week. So he's looking pretty ready and focused as well.
Yeah, so there are championship contenders on the screen, but as we saw at the Roval earlier this season, anything can happen, and some of these drivers can find themselves behind the 8 ball. We have a 3-race format tonight, I think it is, so we'll look at the starting grid for race number 1 tonight. Dave, I'll let you take over.
Yeah, exactly like we mentioned, Cam Dance, great qualifying performance from him, handily a couple tenths clear of Thomas Hinz. We've had races where a couple tenths has separated almost just the top 10. So that's a pretty handy little margin that he's managed in the qualifying session. Got Adrian Duke and Reese Howell behind. Good qualifying out of them. Luke Quist and David Baz, row number 3. Then Brody Shepherd, Liam Banks. There's James Chastinov. Should be second in the championship, but he is starting down in 11th place or so with Tristan Moore, Nathan Verney, Darren Shannon. Still great turnouts as we get to the 11th round. The grid keeps going with Brody Tressiter, Andrew Ritchie, Warren Henry, Dennis Hancock, Donald Sabanel, and Ben Wheeler. Roy Clark, John Snell, Ira Felberg, and Peter Bowling is the last driver with a qualifying time. Then Darren Lesueur, Philip Howe are on the grid there.
You can see the flags waving on top of the officials building there. Quite a windy circuit, but a sunny day here at Barber Motorsport Park. We are just waiting for a couple more cars to make their way onto the grid for the start of the race as the revs rise and the lights are ready to go green.
And indeed, we do go green. Your pole sitter trying to get away cleanly, but remember, it is almost flat out, but not quite through turn number 1. They drop down, and then you're immediately into turns 2 and 3. Feels like one big corner, though. American circuits and how they number things, always a little confusing. Tidy so far. You don't want to get that grass on the outside. 1 or 2 drivers will. And then the next big braking zone of the lap, it's here at turn 5. They drop down over the hill. Very, very aggressive look from the full send car by name and by nature in the 55. Brody Shepherd trying to make up some spots pretty quickly there. He's still going to be side by side coming towards a complex where you really can't get through tidily side by side. Quist has the inside line, and there is a bit of a squeeze on here potentially, and navigate it cleanly.
Yeah, halfway through lap number 1 now, we look back and you can see just about all the rest of the field snaking their way through out of turns 7 and 8, through that fast left-right switchback corner as we jump on board of one of the locked-on cars here. Nathan Verney just going a little bit off track, losing a position in the process, but seamlessly re-enters the track with no dramas.
So Cam Dance still leading, plenty of smoke as Reese Howell has gone around in the penultimate corner. And he was quite high up there, so he's going to get going before everyone else is off. Brody Tressida, Liam Banks. Oh, there's more carnage on the final corner. Nathan Verney is going to be around as well. There is almost nothing in the way for paved runoff around here. Mistakes can be super, super costly. Let's start with Howell. And he just loses the rear, maybe trying to grab a downshift, trying to tighten the car up through that segment. Banks, I believe this is. He touches the grass, he gets wide, drivers behind try to avoid, and it's Tressida or Shepherd?
Tressida.
That then loses control on the grass, spears across the circuit.
So a little bit of carnage as we end lap number 1, and we see a couple of cars retire and back into the pits, but back to live action now. We are halfway through lap number 2, getting into that Charlottesville section towards the end of the circuit. Sector 3, and we are on board here with Thomas Hinds. You can see exactly what he can see as well. This is Cam Dance out in front. So these two currently a little bit of a gap, half a second back to Adrian Duke in P3. So these, as you'd expect, 1 and 2 in the championship, leading in this race early on race number 1.
Yep, indeed. Dance still leading, but the focus on the face of Thomas Hinds says, I'm still right here with you. It'll be a 10-lap race for race number 1, and indeed all 3 of them. There's Dance leading, and they do still have Adrian Duke with them. He performed pretty well at times at Interlagos as well. So despite some little discrepancies in the qualifying pace, race pace in these cars is all about being consistent, not making mistakes, and therefore using the slipstream of the driver in front to maybe try to work with them.
Yeah, so race 1 tonight, as you can see on the screen, we're on lap 3 of 10, so these 10 laps will fly by pretty quick, and the top 3 currently out in front. You can see a big gap, about 3 or 4 seconds back to P4. David Baz, he's got plenty of company with Shepherd, Chastanoff and Quist all tucked underneath his rear wing. So the real battle at the moment is off the podium, with the front 3 skipping away, but plenty of laps to go to unfold just before we crown a race winner for race 1.
Tough to pass in a lot of places around here, especially that back section of the track. You saw Brody Shepherd get really, really close, but it's not a braking zone, and it is single file through the next complex of corners. So you've got to be really, really far up to try to force that move. Better off waiting, trying to get a better run through turns 2 and 3 to then outbrake at 5. Vista's at the back of this train. Has maybe run a little wide in turn number 1, and that's where Shepherd's got to try to set him up on the different line through the long corner and look to the inside. Something he did very well in the early goings of this race. So is he going to try it again? He's shaping for it. He's looking for it, and he's not quite close enough. They've made contact. Baz is half spun around. It's caused dramas for Luke Fist there as well.
Yeah, it looks like he's just nipped the rear brakes there going into that treacherous turn 5. It is off camber downhill, and the back end has just spun around. Of course, Quist managing to just clip him. It looks like they're run side by side through turns 7 and 8, so this little battle isn't over yet. But that did allow the likes of Shepherd and Chastanoff to sneak through. So what was a little battle off the podium has now broken up, and we are now focused back on the lead with Cam Dance and Thomas Hinds running away from Adrian Duke in P3.
Yeah, they've both picked up the pace, and Duke hasn't managed to go with it. Hinds still almost nose to tail out front here. I think that's Nathan Verney just in front of them. He was facing the wrong way in that part of track on lap number 1, but there's a look from Hinds to the inside of turn 1, immediately becomes the outside for the next really, really long corner. But he's gone and shown his intent now, and if he can do a little better here, it's the braking zone, the biggest braking zone on the lap here where moves can be made. Thought he was close enough to maybe have a go at it, but he decided not to.
Yeah, with lap traffic coming up, it's a bit of a battle whether you want to lead or whether you want to be sitting in P2 at the moment. So Thomas Hinds sitting just back, waiting for an opportunity to see what's going to happen as we approach the lap car of Nathan Verney, who goes around for a spin on the exit of turn number 7.
proving a very difficult circuit. The grass is close in places. The curbs are unfriendly to a machine like this. Nathan Verney lets our leaders through as they go flat out through a left-right kink in front of the spectators. That's what I'm talking about here. You throw the car downhill, but it's not a big braking zone, and it is definitely single file. A lot of car movement from Brodie Shepherd here, under pressure from James Chastanoff, and we talked about his qualifying performance. Well, he's now up into 5th. He's haranguing Shepherd for 4th. Not a bad go of things in just a short number of laps in this race one. Super dense here with Sabinel, Tristan Moore, and Luke Kvist. It's been a tough race for David Baz, who's just behind them many times. I think twice, 3 times now, he's either been off the road or half spun or had a little bit of contact with someone. So he hoping to settle down in this one. Up front, Dance still needing to defend. Thomas Hinz still looking for a way back, trying to unsettle him, trying to get him offline. Oh, that is wide and kissing the grass for Dance. But I just don't think you can pass through this sector here. Flat out, but one line for this section of corners. Same is almost true up here. And Thomas Hinz knows it.
Yeah, it looks like Thomas is moving around in Cam's mirrors, so just making sure Cam's definitely knows he's there, and hopefully getting Cam to look in his mirrors more so than what's happening in front, and possibly issue him into a mistake. But at the moment, the expert driving style of Cam Dance still leading. We are completing lap number 6, ready to go into lap number 7. So if Thomas Hinz wants to make a move here in race 1, now's probably the time he needs to pull his finger out and have a crack.
A lot of movement from the rear end of Cam Dance, and he's caught the grass. He's a little out wide there, but I don't think that puts Hinz where he wants to be on the inside at this next hairpin. Track's about to go to the left. They break downhill. Dance gets in pretty hot, so Hinz will then try to cut back underneath, but once again, he's to the outside of the next corner, and if he could be that far ahead, that far alongside, but on the opposite side, you'd think he'd made the move stick, but it's just the positioning from Dance is not letting him get around.
So this little battle between Dance and Hinz is keeping Duke into the picture here. You just see him make his way through that section 1.4 seconds off the back of Thomas Hinz, so he's still in for a whisper. So if these guys in front make any sort of contact or make a mistake, Adrian Duke will be there to pounce. He's going to capitalise on a mistake from these front two.
Absolutely would. Looking rearwards from the leader. Hinz does get through that final corner really well. Super close every time. We've seen him try to have an attack in towards turn 1 on several opportunities that just haven't worked for him. Stan's had a haircut or a shave or both. He's looking very youthful tonight.
Maybe he's
could be
grown
both.
taller.
Chastanoff still on the attack here, all over Brodie Shepherd, just finding an F4 width to get down the inside at turn number 5. Immediately as they go over the crest of the hill, the car's light. That's the start of the braking zone, so you've got to be so careful on the brakes. Chastanoff's done it almost to perfection. He's up into 4th. Who is going to be leading at the end of this lap, though, because Hinz is still as close as you could be without making contact.
Yeah, definitely looking pretty racy in P2 at the moment, but it's one thing to look racy, you still got to make that move stick. So we're going into that section where, like you said before, it really is a single file, single lane. So Thomas Hinz concedes the challenge at this point, sits back behind the rear wing of Cam Dance with a couple of laps to go. He looks like he's hungry for the win and not happy to settle for second place.
This is the line that maybe sets Hinz up for the better run through the final corner that he seems to consistently be getting. Just a car width back, car length back, in fact, and closing towards turn 1. Twice he's tried to get down the inside. It's done nothing for him, so he's not keen to try it again. He's looking for somewhere else on the circuit, probably looking for turn number 5. There's been some dramas elsewhere, a couple cars around in that final sector. I didn't quite pick it up. Roy Clark and Dennis Hancock also, I think, went for a loop. 2 laps to go. Who's going to lead at the end of this one? Dance again, defending the inside at turn 5, looking to defend the inside at the museum corners. This next section here. Climbing all over the curb there. He knows that you can't get out-braked until much later along on the lap. What Hintz has been trying to do when he's a bit closer, though, is force Dance narrow into the next left-hander, compromise him, then over the crest, and maybe be able to get down the inside as the track tightens into the right-hander. But he's not as close as he's been in previous laps. It's right about where the pit entry is here that sometimes you can sneak your nose down the inside and surprise the other driver. But Hintz not as close as he has been on previous laps, and he's only going to get one more go of it, and he's made a meal of the final corner. Is that going to make it easy for Dance to hold on for one more tour?
Yeah, we'll find out in about a minute 20 time as the top 2 make their way around through this right-hand sweeper. Seems to go on forever before they climb back up the hill. Dance currently sitting about half a second ahead of Thomas Hintz. So going into this braking zone, one of the critical points at the lap. He's got a bit of a buffer, so he doesn't have to go too defensive at this point. He can just focus on hitting his marks, making the apex, and getting good drive out of the turn.
Opportunities are few and far between on the rest of this lap. Adrian Duke has done a good job. He's still loitering right in the background, looking for podium. Underneath half a second, but it's going to have to be a pretty monumental mistake from Dance to give race 1 away. There he is. We saw the rear of the car difficult to control in the tightening section there. Caught some drivers off guard on the first lap. Took a little bit at wheel work, but he's happy with that one. Another win for Cam Dance, and holding off a pretty resurgent Thomas Hintz. James Chastanoff is going to get 4th.
There's a little battle at the moment. Currently 8th and 9th, David Baz, after a really good qualifying performance. He challenges Roy Clark across the line, I think it is, but doesn't get the job done. Luke Quist in there as well, crossing the line. Still a few cars out on track making their way through. Across the line as Barney is waving that flag furiously further down the field. And I'm sure a lot of those drivers will be happy to see the end of race 1 so they can regroup and come back again for race number 2.
Great sculptures around the circuit. Some of them a little creepier than others, but they are definitely unique and a great characteristic of this circuit. After race number 1, Cam Dance manages to hold on to come away with that win, then Thomas Hintz, Adrian Duke behind them. Good moves through the field from James Chastanoff and Brody Shepherd. Donald Sabinell, Tristan Moore, David Baz, Luke Fist, and Ben Wheeler complete the top 10 there.
Looking over the page, P11 crossing the line. Dennis Hancock doing a relatively good job. He was accompanied across with John Snell before a bit of a gap back to Ira Felberg and Darren Shannon in 14. Reece Howe, 38 seconds off the pace in P15 with Brody Tressiter and Darren Lasue doing a good job climbing up a few positions after not setting a qualifying time. He finished P17, and the final car on the lead lap, that was Liam Banks. And then we see the first of our lap cars, Nathan Verney and Roy Clark, rounding out your 20 tonight. Warren Henry, Peter Bowling, Andrew Ritchie, all finishing a lap down, and Philip Howe failing to take the start. So there's no messing around. Looks like we're ready for race 2 with a number of drivers already on the grid.
Yeah, inverted top 20 in effects for this race number 2 sees Roy Clark starting with the pole position. Nathan Verney did not have the race 1 he wanted, but he's going to start alongside that front row as well, and all the way right to the back. James Chastanoff, Thomas Hintz, and Cam Dance, they're ready to go, locked and loaded for another 10 laps of Barber. Barney is up on the stand, and he's going to drop that green flag and get us going. Far more enthusiasm than Tim Cook could ever.
Okay, we'll see how these cars sort themselves out. There's already
and immediately they don't. Liam Banks is off, and for poor Nathan Verney, I think he's been in trouble again, and it looks like Reese Howell interlocked with Liam Banks as well. Roy Clark holds on to that lead, but Brody Tressiter is immediately up in a second. It's an absolute mess, 3 wide, as they all try to funnel down, and it's happened almost immediately at turn number 5.
Yeah, it looks like
My
there's about
goodness.
6 or 7 cars all tied up there, and some big names. David Baz again coming to grief. Cam Dance in there as well. So Thomas Hins was caught up in it. So the winning lap or race number 1, they found themselves in strife for race number 2.
That shake of the head says a lot from Cam Dance, and he's got incredible amount of damage on that car, and it's his race almost done. Of our 3 championship contenders, Thomas Hins James Chastanoff got through the most cleanly. Thomas Hins has clearly lost quite a lot of time, and the car is massively damaged for Cam Dance. So it starts here. Sverny kind of squeeze onto Banks a little bit at the apex at turn number 1 there. It's a pretty short run from the start line in towards turn number 1 that's almost flat out at the start. And then behind that, I mean, they were 3 wide for rows and rows, and you just couldn't smell away that was going to end tidily at the apex. It starts with Baz in orange, and he maybe gets squeezed at the apex there, and that spins one car. Cars are longer than they are wide, so when they're at 90 degrees, they block a lot of the track, and not everyone could avoid that. There's a, what do I want to call it? Parkour? Steeplechase from Thomas Hins to try to get out of that one, and he's up into 9th. He's still racing on.
Yeah, 3x3x3 going into the braking zone of turn 5, lap number 1 probably wasn't going to be an ideal situation to find yourself in. So we look in pit lane at the moment. There is about 6, 7, 8 cars in there already. Cam Dance has made his stop. Looks like he has possibly ticked a fast repair, and he's back out on track. He's lost a tremendous amount of time. But while all that's been happening, Roy Clark, our pole sitter for race number 2, is still out in front. He's got a handy little gap, just on a 1 second back to teammate Darren Shannon at the moment. He's under a bit of pressure from Brody Tressiter. So 3 names up the front that we haven't seen up the front for quite a while, but they'll be enjoying a little bit of TV coverage and some experience at the pointy end of the field.
Yeah, it's a pretty short one. You just got to hold on for 10 laps around this place, and we've seen how difficult it is to pass, how much speed in the slipstream Thomas Hins had on Cam Dance in race number 1 and just couldn't get around him when Dance parked the car in the right places and didn't crack underneath that pressure. Here's Brody Tressiter, 3rd, trying to shape up on Darren Shannon. A lot of downshifts. He's got yellow gloves there, and I believe they make you faster. So I've heard. Yeah,
if Urban Myth is correct, then there's about 3/10 in having yellow gloves. But at the moment, it's doing wonders for Brody Tressiter, currently sitting in P3. So he's up 2 from where he started. Managed to avoid all that carnage on the opening lap. But you look in the background, and we can see Quist making some ground on the front 3 as well. So we saw a good pace from Quist early in race number 1, so we know he has got the speed underneath that little Formula 4 that he's pedaling around this Barber Motorsport Park. It just eyes down, head down, and see if he can catch this group in front.
Yep. Him and Brody Tressiter in sequential number order. The number 69 and the number 70 at the moment. Well, they remain that way by the end. Here is a little look from James Chastanoff on Tristan Moore. He is making up some meters towards the inside of turn number 1, but in these cars, a lot of grip, low power. They're just too quick through there for you to get all the way clear.
Yeah, and turn number 1...
It's not a big enough braking zone, is it?
No, it's very difficult. Turn 1 drops away, and you don't actually see the apex of the corner. So if you're going side by side like we just saw then with Chastanoff and Moore, it's a lot of trust and a lot of faith in those around you that they're all going to give you enough room. And of course, being open wheelers, these cars are very much prone to easy damage. So Chastanoff at the moment would be well aware that Dance and Hins potentially had some carnage on and some incidents on lap number 1. So not willing to risk and do anything too silly at this stage.
Darren Shannon took a chunk of that challenging curb at the museum complex, and it got him a little airborne, a little offline, and it cost him 1 spot to someone, Brody Tressida.
By doing so, he's also fallen back into the clutches of Quist, so definitely got his mirrors full. We'll have a look at a VRS replay and try and capture what happened.
There's 3 curbs, and he has taken a lot of the first one, a lot of the second one, and then skipped a little wide of the third. Oh, yeah, okay, that's how it was. It got a bit sideways. That certainly very well explains the dramas that he had in that complex. Again, tough to see the apexes until you've already turned into them in a car that doesn't want to straight line the corner by leaping over those curbs. Looks like Chastanoff is clear of Tristan Moore now. Virtual Racing School replay. And it's going to tell us he had a lot more overlap, a lot further up in towards turn number 1 and committed to it, and that's worked out for him. So realistically, a pass like that all starts back in the final complex of corners and maximising your run onto the pit straight. This is the lead. Roy Clark gifted that pole position by the top 20 invert, but halfway into this race, and he still leads it. So we've led that horse to water, and he is drinking. That's how the saying goes, right?
one of many sayings, but currently crossing the line at the halfway point of the race, and Brody Tressida looks like he's got some really good speed. He's closed in on Roy Clark, so Roy will definitely know that the challenge is coming from behind. As we've spoken about and pointed out earlier, it is a very difficult spot to make some passes stick here. So really he's just got to focus on hitting his marks and not worry about what's happening with the car behind.
And that's always what's interesting about some of the drivers who are on average mid-pack, is they're not all the same speed. Some of them are quick for some laps and mistake prone, so their average pace is mid-pack, and some are just rock solid, rock steady. They're the kind of people you want to share a car with in an endurance race, and that looks like Roy Clark at the moment so far in this race. He's not setting any fastest laps, but he's just consistently on his pace. Last lap within 0.2 of his best. And sure, Brody Tressida and Darren Shannon and Luke Quist are closing in on him, but as long as he doesn't make big mistakes, they'll struggle to get past him, and it's too short of a race for too many people to make too much progress on him. So that is a good drive where some people might get shaky hands or nervous under the pressure.
Yeah, well, Brody's got the pressure of Roy's teammate sitting in P3 as well, so we did see Darren make that little bit of an error and give away P2 earlier, but he's still carrying the pace to stay with Brody in P2, so doing a pretty good job there. And we've already spoken about Quist sitting in P4 waiting for an opportunity to find himself on the podium as well, so any one of these 4 guys on screen at the moment could potentially walk away with a race 2 win here tonight. They can Constantina up a little bit into turn 5. Quist locks a break in the background, loses about 4 or 5 car lengths, but at the moment sitting pretty in P1, 2 and 3 is Roy Clark, Brody Tressida and Darren Shannon.
Is that consistency I'm talking about? That lap just then from Roy Clark within 0.003 of his previous best. So if you saw plotted out his different lap times, they're all very, very similar to each other, and that's a good thing. So it's working well for him at the moment, even though Tressida, Shannon, Luke Quist, and even James Chastanoff, Dennis Hancock, Tristan Moore, that group behind, closing in on him. In a minute, it's only going to be 3 laps to go. Tressida, do you smell is now really shaping up to try to take the lead and take the win, though?
Yeah, he smells like there's blood in the water. And he's just circling around prey, being Roy Clark out the front in P1. But we've seen Roy's managed to be fault-free for the last 6 laps with a handful of laps to go. I'm sure he's got the nerves of steel to bring it home, but we'll find out soon enough. But we look further back in the field. This is Thomas Hinds. So he was caught up in that incident on lap number 1 at turn number 5. Didn't quite get the potential damage that he possibly could have, because I don't think he's been into the pits. And as a result, he's finding himself still sitting in P number 7. So,
And he's having a go. He's having a go on Dennis Hancock there. But again, they're going to be side by side, coming to a section of corners where you can't really go side by side. Is Hancock going to give up the inside, or is it going to end in disaster? Oh, in the end, I think Hancock had to brake a little earlier than he wanted to. Thomas Hinds is going to go through and up into 6th. Pretty strong, given the heart-stopping moment that he would have had on lap number 1. Clark is still leading, but Tressida is absolutely monstering him. Has a good run in a couple of places. Are we going to see the move where you point to the inside in the penultimate corner? No, we're not. They're looking like a train here, and it's going to be 2 to go as they come out of the final corner. Luke Kvist absolutely flying along as well, catching the lot of them. And now Tressida shows the nose, but no overlap into turn number 1. What he's doing is he's trying to put Clark off through this next section. Tressida swoops out wide, going to try to cut back to a later apex and more speed. And he'll try to get to the left-hand side of the race course here. Try to outbrake in towards turn number 5. He's going to show the nose again. No overlap, but he's still going to throw the nose down on the inside. Can he carry enough speed and traction off the exit? He leads, but he's not clear.
Yeah, I don't think Roy's going to give this up without a battle. They go side by side into turns 7 and 8. Tressida and Roy Clark, and not giving an inch either way. Clark holding the position, so Tressida showing his cards with a lap and a half to go. He might have made the move a little bit too early, but we jump on board with Darren Shannon sitting in P3. He has got the best view out of anybody. Watch this little battle unfold. We're back to the final sector 3 of the lap where it is single file. So really all about setting up an attack for the last lap.
So much could happen between now and the checkered flag because it's compressed the field further. Your top 6 now within a second and a half. Kvist, Chastanov, Hinds, they're all over it here. They're 3 wide and Kvist gets absolutely zonted. Darren Shannon might make good out of this. Chastanov, great speed. He's up into 3rd. The white flag is out. Roy Clark from the inverted pole still leads Brody Tressida. Thomas Hinds is going to pick up some spots on the final lap here as well. Kvist back to 6th. Darren Shannon back to 5th. Chastanov and Hinds making out like bandits in that one.
Yeah, and all of a sudden Tressida's going to look in his mirrors and find Chastanov, who not too long ago was about 2 or 3 seconds off the lead group. So he is going to wonder where the heck Chastanov has come from. So not only has he got to put the pressure on Roy Clark out the front in the lead, he's also got to be very smart and drive a little bit defensively to cover off a hard-charging Chastanov.
Into the back half of the lap where it becomes really, really difficult to pass. Maybe a little bit of traffic coming up as well. Hopefully not to interfere at all. What a great job Roy Clark has done under this pressure so far. Even if he doesn't come away with the win, he's done an incredible job under incredible pressure. Tressida is smart enough to know you can't pass through there, but way offline. Trying to defend it for Roy Clark. Now he goes out wide on the grass and they're going to mug him in the final corner of the final lap. Tressida now under attack from Chastanov. Chasty's to the inside, the outside for the final corner. Hinds wants to get in on some of this action as well. He's been so good in that final corner. Tressida's going to grab the win. Chastanov and Hinds are side by side, but Chasty will still just hold on to it. What a finish.
Wow, that was breathtaking stuff as the top 5 or 6 fought their way across the checkered line. Ira Felberg crossing the line as well to complete his race, looking a bit further back in the pack. Cam Dance still out on track. He's back in 14th. So it'll be a race of what could have been for Cam. He'll have to regroup. Gets a little bit of a tank slapper up on the last lap, and he still hasn't even crossed the line. So
was that right rear suspension already cooked? Or did he get the grass? Because I think something might have already been wrong with that one at the end there. But, I mean, what a final couple laps for Chastanov and Hinds up in a 2nd and 3rd. And what a disaster bit of a bin fire even for Cam Dance right at the end. It comes even worse undone for him. Brody Tressida had to fight to grab that one. Chastanoff and Hins picking some pockets on the final lap. Roy Clark still gets rewarded with 4th. Is he going to be happy with that one or pinching himself about what could have been? And Darren Shannon, Luke Fist, Tristan Moore, Dennis Hancock, Nathan Verney gets 9th after being around on lap 1 as well. And Ira Felberg completes the top 10 there.
Yeah, looking over outside the top 10 in 11th. Good drive from Warren Henry. Only 12 seconds off the pace. And then it was Brody Shepherd, Ben Wheeler, Cam Dance in P14. Darren Lassou, another good drive from him to finish in P15. David Baz and John Snell in P16 and 17. Adrian Duke and Donald Sabinow, Reese Howell round out your 20 with Duke and the following being off the lead lap. Peter Bowling, Andrew Ritchie and Liam Banks in 23rd, 4 laps down. But if you can't be quick, look spectacular. So Liam has actually crossed the line backwards on that last lap. So wedged into the fence and managed to crawl across the line to record a result.
So let's have a look at who makes Ozicar F4 possible on our way to a little break as the drivers reset and get ready for the final race of the evening. And it is, of course, No Social Hate, Sim Racing League's Prestige Trophy Badge and Engraving, and the Locked On iRacing podcast. Thank you for their great support of Ozicar and of Simspeed. We are just minutes away from the final exciting sprint race from Barber Motorsport Park.
This is the world's premier online racing simulation. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat from your home computer with the most realistic online motorsports experience you'll find anywhere. Race virtually in the world's biggest events with officially licensed series, cars, and tracks. From the high banks of Daytona to the blistering speeds of Indianapolis, the dirt of Eldora to the world's most legendary road courses. It's all here, and with more than 180,000 people just like you already driving, you'll always have someone to race. Ready to get behind the wheel? Sign up at iRacing.com to get started.
World of Outlaws Dirt Racing is available now. Download your copy today.
So as we get ready for race number 3, a quick look at how race number 2 ended. Liam Banks started on the first or second row of the grid. Got maybe a little driven into, hard to say, and his race didn't end fantastically either. You saw him there tagging the grass in the final corner of the final lap. Just decides to chuck it into reverse gear and give Barney maybe a little bit of a shock there. So we get ready for race number 3, and Jason, they're going to start this one how they finished race number 2. So I'd say that's good news for Chastanoff and Hinz, and makes a difficult race 2 into a difficult race 3 for Cam Dance.
Yeah, he's going to find himself outside of the top 10, and as we've stated from the get-go, quite a very limited opportunity to get passes done here. Although it has been done, because we saw Chastanoff make his way through from outside the top 10 in race number 1 to secure a top 5 result. So just got to pick your battles. Cam definitely has the speed and the driving know-how, so we'll have to wait and see, but we'll find out soon enough.
Taking a look at that again then as they grid up for the last of our 3 sprint races at Barber. Brody Tressida, by virtue of his race 2 win, is going to have pole for race number 3. Chastanoff and Hinz not only picking up some points in race number 2, but a good starting position for race number 3. Roy Clark is still going to start from the second row of the grid though, and then Darren Shannon and Luke Kvist the next. Through to 7th place, Tristan Moore, Dennis Hancock, Nathan Verney, Ira Felberg, Warren Henry and Brody Shepherd are about the top half. And then you've got to look a bit further down for some of the race 2 tales of woe: Ben Wheeler, Camp Dance, Darren Lasue, David Baz, John Snell, Adrian Duke, Donald Sabinell. Reese Howell has been having a really tough one. Peter Bowling, Andrew Ritchie, Liam Banks, etc. They are ready to go. Race number 3, 10 laps again from Barber, and your pole sitter, no wheel spin, but still a pretty good launch, a very good launch from Tressida. Struggle for Chastanoff there. He's going to drop back a little bit. Hinz stays in 3rd, and Darren Shannon looks like he might have picked up a spot here as well. All cleanly so far. It was turn 5 where things really kicked off last race, and they're 3 wide again as Thomas Hinz loses some momentum. A couple cars skittle across the grass there as well. So what's gonna happen as Dance barrels down the inside. He has made positions 8 so far in the first half of the lap. Lightning start from Dance. Now he's looking to get around the outside of Moore if he can. Such a tough place to do it, and he's just gonna pull it off as well. Cold tires on the start of the race again for everyone, and Dance just seems to have more feel on them.
Yeah, Dance was making it 3 wide through turns 2 and 3, so putting it all on the line. Putting it all on the line there to redemption race here in race number 3. But the news is coming in that Thomas Hinz on screen at the moment, currently P8 after starting in P3, finds himself with a mechanical meatball flag.
Well, his wing end plate isn't loose, but if he made wheel-to-wheel contact with someone, the suspension might have been a drama for him. He's going to pop through pit lane as quick as he can. Try to salvage some points out of this one, if at all possible. Try to pick up what's happened to him, but someone's looped it out the final corner. Dennis Hancock, unfortunately, dropping back and losing out. Brody Tressida still leads this one from Chastanoff, but Dance from 14th is up into 4th.
So we saw a shake at the head of Cam Dance after race number 2. He wouldn't have thought that his championship rival would potentially be in the pits after the opening lap of race number 3. So we'll go back and have a bit of a look at how the race unfolded. And this is Thomas Hinz and Chastanoff going side by side, and that's where the contact has happened. A lot of air time. Air Hinz as he makes his way through, losing a heap of positions to Darren Shannon and Roy Clark there.
Oh, you can see Chastanoff have a little bit of a wiggle. He doesn't step out more than about half a car width, but Chasty was trying to take a little bit of a tighter line than he ended up doing, and that was the wheel-to-wheel contact that doesn't appear to have damaged Chastanoff too badly at all, and Hinz comes off worse. It's kind of the opposite of Hinz and Dance together in race number 2. Tressida will be feeling the heat here. And Dance has gotten around Darren Shannon, and he's up into 3rd. looking for redemption.
Yes, the top three separated by under a second, and you can see them on your screen there, filling our viewing screens. Chastanoff trying to take the tight line through, but he's going to find himself on the wrong side of the track into the braking zone of turn number 5 here. Top three is under battle, but the two in front of Cam Dance going side by side is just going to play into Cam's hands as he is now onto the back of this little battle, and it's quickly a three-way tussle for the lead.
Yeah, Chastanoff managed to switch back and get down the inside there on Tressida, which surprised me a little bit. So now he leads. And the view from Dance, he is always so good through that sequence there. No one else seems to ride the corners quite as well as he. No one else is confident to carry the speed in and predict how the car might behave as it hits the bumps. This here, just no way to pass as they quickly flick into the left-hander, then fast right-hander over the crest. You can't see the exit until you're committed to it, and Tressida nowhere near as confident. Dance gets through up in a second.
The final sector of the lap proving to be quite successful for Cam Dance. He has got the job done, moved up to P2, so it's half a second to the race leader in James Chastanoff as he makes his way down into turn number 1. This is Andrew Ritchie, currently buried quite deep in the field after a disastrous race number 2, finishing a few laps off the pace. He has come to grief again. But back up the front of the field, it is a battle 1, 2, and 3, still leading Chastanoff, followed by Dance, followed by Brody Tressida.
Yeah, for Ritchie, it was just a matter of catching a little bit of the grass coming over that crest we were just talking about, where you can't see where the exit is. Chasty defending that line from Dance. This is his strongest corner. But even he knows his best bet is to tuck back underneath and in line. I'm guessing this is going to be Adrian Duke and David Baz, if I've got my neural link to our producer correct. And it is. It's happened here at turn number 5. So does it start with Baz just getting a meal of it, and then Duke, I think it is there, is in a little hot and tags him. Oh, yeah, that suspension is done.
Yeah, looking pretty second-hand there. This is the same corner and almost a copy repeat of David Baz's spin in race number 2, just a little bit further through that turn number 5. So heavy contact there by Adrian Duke into the side of David Baz.
Cam dances through to the lead, but now he's back around the outside of the long right-hander. That could favour Chastanoff. It'll keep Brody Tressida in the battle as well. They'll be side-by-side coming up the hill and over the crest. Still want to be where Dance is. Nose in front, inside line for the corner. That's proved to be one of the corners that Chasty excels at, but he struggled with the traction on the exit there.
Yeah, a little bit late getting on the accelerator pedal, and that's allowed Tressida to get right underneath that rear wing. They're separated by a couple of tenths of a second, but Cam Dance, within 5 laps, has gone from buried deep halfway in the field to leading this one and looking like he is in total control. So 0.4 of a gap back to P2. He has got his eyes on the prize. He's got his head down, and he is driving like a man possessed after having the worst luck he's probably had all season in the previous race.
Just absolutely a hot knife through butter in the opening laps of this one, Cam Dance. Remember, he was to turn 5. He was already up 8 positions on the first lap. He's pretty content to hold on to this race lead. If that little weave trying to break the toe on the pit straight is to be believed. Roy Clark, I'd say undoubtedly the hero of race number 2, has struck some trouble here in race number 3. Meanwhile, Liam Banks struck trouble in race number 2, and he's just made up another position on Nathan Verney, it might be.
Yeah, textbook move, getting the job done there, and they go into turn number 5, following each other in sequence. So Verney's showed pretty good speed tonight. He hasn't had the best of luck through some of the races, but currently he is sitting in a pretty comfortable position, tucked underneath the rear wing of that very distinctive car of Liam Banks in P8 and 9 respectively.
Yep, had his Honts privileges revoked when he fenced it in race number 2, but he's had them returned in race number 3. On board with Brodie Shepherd, another one of a small handful of drivers making big progress in this one after not starting where they maybe think they ought to have. From 12th and 6th, he can see 5th and he can see 4th, and what he's done here is put Tristan Moore a little bit offline. Much better run off the final corner for Shepherd. Maybe a little worried about Luke Quist in that group as well. Might prevent Shepherd from attacking how he'd like, because it could leave him vulnerable. Looking at turn 5, a bit of a lock-up. Something Moore had to react to, and he has found that there's maybe a bit of a slippery patch on the exit there. Again, I just don't think you can get around the outside here. You got to turn in, go single file before you ever start hitting the brakes. And here's Hins. Remember, he had to go through the pit lane on lap number 1 of this race. Just picked off Warren Henry, picked off Roy Clark. Got Ira Felberg next, trying to minimize the damage to his championship.
So lap 7 of 10, the laps are flying by here. These cars are very well suited to the layout and the style that this track produces. A little bit further back in the field, this is a battle for 5th, 6th and 7th. So Tristan Moore. Haven't spoke much about him tonight, but he's managed to keep his nose relatively clean and come away with some good results. So sitting inside the top 5 here at the moment, certainly nothing to sneeze at, and I think a relatively newcomer to the Aussie car scene.
Say so. Not doing poorly at all. And of course, started 7th in race number 3 means finished 7th in race number 2. So good top 10s, but he is under attack again from Brodie Shepherd. And again, Moore will just be in that prime position for the next couple of corners. Shepherd knows it. He's racing very intelligently at the minute.
Yeah, the three of them are battling away. You can see Darren Shannon up in front, sitting in P4 as well. So another quiet achiever. He was battling for a top podium position in race number 2. So a couple of good results for Darren tonight as well. So the battle out front is where it's happening at the moment, but there are still other little sub-battles happening around the track. So spot fires everywhere. Just a little bit of grass for more. Yeah,
just tags a tiny bit of that grass. It costs him here, and that's where Shepherd smells an opening. Just needs a little more than that. He's willing to get a bit more of the apex curb in the final corner, if you notice. Pretty short little pit straight in towards a very quick turn number 1. Look at Quist trying that different line, bring it out for a later apex. Still looks like he picks up a bit of understeer. So many long loaded right hand corners around this place, even in a short race like this. I'm sure the front left in particular cops a little bit of a beating, especially when you lock up the front left on your way into towards turn number 4. Still trying to get down the inside there, not decisive enough for Shepherd.
A very good drive out of turn 5. We saw the same thing happen last lap, but not far enough up, and Moore holds the position going into the flip-flop sequence of the off-camber turn 7 and 8. A little bit further back in the field, teammates possibly coming together, and David Baz going off-road to avoid the carnage. So outside the top 20 here, but we'll have a look at a VRS replay. That'll give us a better idea of how this all unfolded.
So Peter Bowling and John Snell, I think it is. So a look, Snell all by himself there, and his teammate has to get a little creative to avoid him. So, wow, they didn't touch. So I guess that's rule number 1 successfully followed. But one driver's mistake has then cost the other driver as well. Tough little sequence for both of them. The almost never-ending story Moore and Shepherd. Shepherd tries to take a wide entry in towards turn number 2, and you see it instantly just makes him vulnerable to Luke Quist. So it's still compromising Shepherd. Is that close? Oh, and he's found the slick spot, and he's lit it up and looped it around. Shepherd's going to lose a bunch of positions. He's almost run out of space to save the car as well. Here's Banks looking to make a position on Luke Quist. So Banks has snuck up on them. Quist has lost time avoiding that. And up into 6th, 17 places gained, goes Liam Banks.
So final lap in the final sector now. The man on the screen from P14 to P1 here is going to be your race 1 winner pending any disasters in the last couple of corners. Cam Dance looks like he has this under control. One more corner to muster as he makes his way through a little bit of curb.
And the checkered flag gets waved at him with the vigour that the occasion deserves. Chasanoff kept pressure on him all race long here. Banks looking to cleanly navigate that final corner this time and just hold on from Luke Quist. Roy Clark's got a hold on from Ira Felberg and Warren Henry. Warren Henry charging a little bit at the end, but again, short pit straight, the line comes up in time to save them. There was Duke, who was, I think, a lap down as well, just behind him.
So still a few drivers out on screen ready to greet the checkered flag and complete the lap race, or race number 3 tonight. But we will have a quick look at our standings from race number 3 here at Barber Motorsport Park. Cam Dance, the man of the moment from P14 through to P1. He will be ecstatic. We'll talk to him very shortly. He was followed across the line by James Chastanoff and Brody Tressida rounding out your top 3. Darren Shannon doing a brilliant job in P number 4. And then Tristan Moore got plenty of airtime, showcasing a good battle there in the dying laps. P5, Liam Banks and Luke Quist, Nathan Verney. Thomas Hinds, we didn't speak much about of after lap number 1, but a really good result to sneak into the top 10, finishing 9th. And Brody Shepherd, after that hiccup on the last lap, did cross the line in P10.
Yeah, that's right. Then Roy Clark gets 11th, just ahead of Felberg and Warren Henry, as we saw. Donald Sabanel, Andrew Ritchie, Darren Lesueur, Ben Wheeler, David Baz, Peter Bowling, and John Snell. Those 2 teammates in 19th and 20th, losing a bit of time, but avoiding taking each other out. And Dennis Hancock was the last car on the lead lap. Adrian Duke, unfortunately, he was just off the lead lap. And it looks like Reese Howell and Philip Howe didn't take the start of race number 3. For Reese Howell, it was probably just to avoid the bad luck that had befallen him in races 1 and 2. So who do we have? Someone we don't seem to speak to as commonly in our Aussie car coverage. Brody Tressida is going to join us.
Hello.
Well, how about that? Very action-packed for almost everyone at Barber.
Yeah, it absolutely was. It was a very busy night. It's probably one of my weakest tracks, and then I was very surprised to get the result I did at the end of it.
Let me have a look-see here. Yeah, a 16th, a 1st, and a 3rd, a little all over the shop, but a pretty big top 20 invert from that race number 1. Let you bounce back.
Yeah, I had a bit of a crash at the start of the first one. Clawed back a few places, but still finished 16th, and then was really fortunate to get the results I did at the last 2 races. Had my first win in the Ozicar Series, so pretty happy with that.
Yeah, there you go. They held you off for about 9 3/4 laps in that race number 2. Had you almost given up? I mean, you were still fighting for it, but it didn't look likely until it was.
Yeah, honestly, I did not think I was going to get past him. It's a very hard track to overtake on, and then at the very last moment, he made a little bit of a mistake, and I decided, all right, well, I'm just going to throw it down here, see what happens. And then I was pretty concerned that James and I think Thomas were behind me as well. Those guys were fast, and then they nearly got me across the line as well. So I was just really lucky, I guess. Right
place, right time is what you've got to do sometimes. So
Yeah,
I'm sure
absolutely.
you're pretty thrilled with that.
Yeah, it was great. It was really good.
Well, we've got some other folks to chat to. Thanks so much, Brody, and anyone you need to thank.
Definitely the Full Send Racing team and my teammate Brody. Do all of our races together and everything. It's been a really great time, and of course the Ozicar Series, Ira for running it. It's been a really great series.
Awesome. See you for the final round, hopefully.
I'll absolutely be there. Thanks, mate.
Jason, for you and two of you managed to wrangle. That looks...
I have got Thomas Hins with me as well, so bit of a 0 to 0 race tonight for a heap of drivers out there. One of those drivers that did have a little bit of bad luck on their side this evening joins us right now, and he's on our screen, so if you want to look up and give us a wave, Thomas. Thank you very much. Well, there's so much to recap after those 3 hectic 10-lap races.
Yeah, well, it's funny, like the one race that I was worried about everything going completely wrong, the second race, of course, it didn't happen. And then the one I was like, oh, this should be nice, just have a nice battle and hang on to a podium or whatever. And then, of course, that's the one where it went wrong. But, yeah, no, it was all in all, I can't really complain too much. Obviously, first race was awesome. That was a great fuel with Cam, but always great fun. Always great fun. But Cam was great fuel we had there, and it was really good fun. Then, yeah, obviously, second race, yeah, that all happened. I saw us, before we went in there, I could see we were about 4 wide, 2 or 3 ways back, and I was like, oh, this is not going to be good. I was just hoping no one came together. Of course, someone did, and I just straight away I was like, ah, here we go. Somehow, though, I don't know how my car, I think it had the slightest bit of damage, but it was pretty much fine. I have no idea how. So that was absurdly lucky. So I was able to somehow still get a podium out of that. Don't know how, but yeah, and a big shame for Cam. He's so unlucky in that one that he got killed way worse, obviously. So huge commiserations to him on that. But yeah, then obviously race 3, that's when it happened. And yeah, just side by side chassis there, and you got a bit of a slide and just the lightest touch. But obviously with these cars being over wheels, it just shot me up, and I didn't really get just completely stuck the suspension, so I had to get a go in for me full time. But yeah, managed to recover to top 10, so that's good. So I didn't really lose anything much. I think in the end, me and Cam at least probably pretty even for the round. So definitely could have been worse. So yeah, I'll take it, I guess.
Yeah, swings and roundabouts, but like you said, contact with these open wheelers can be detrimental to someone's race, and it doesn't take much contact to come unstuck. But I want to focus just very briefly on that race too, because it was all sorts of carnage there happening, and you managed to sneak away from that with very little damage. But there did seem to be quite a bit of heavy contact as you drove away. The car had a bit of a jump and got some air underneath it, but managed to leave that carnage behind and head down and focus on getting a good result for race number 2.
Yeah, no, I just felt sorry for Cam. Somehow getting kind of like stuck on my car. And I didn't see it at the time because it was too far into the right for me to really see, but and I was sort of focusing behind me and everywhere else. But I noticed on the replay that, yeah, he was sort of stuck in me, and I reversed, and his car just kind of came with me. So it was a bit weird, but yeah, no, it was really good to recover that. Yeah, it was a shame of that third race. It was annoying. I should have been probably a bit more passive. All I needed to do was just sit there. I could have just let Cam and Chastity have it, and I just should have sat third. I probably could have played a bit smarter rather than sort of going for Chastity there. But as we say, you can't help it when you're racing. You kind of your mind switches off, and you just kind of go for it. So yeah, it's a shame. But as I said, I'm glad that it recovered not bad. It was better than I thought. I was a bit worried I was going to be sort of 15, 16 and get nothing. But come back to 9th, I'm pretty happy with that one. So yeah, I think it should leave things pretty even, hopefully, and still give me a bit of a buff in the final round.
Yeah, things are going to be interesting for our final round. We do come back to Bathurst, but tonight, mate, well done. You had P2 in race number 1, complemented that with another podium in race number 2 and a top 10 finish in race number 3. So don't be too hard on yourself. You will come back, and she will be a showdown next, or in a fortnight's time at Bathurst.
Yeah, should be good. I think, yeah, I'll see what the situation is with the points, obviously, but yeah, that will just be about similar to what this was really. It will just be about surviving, obviously, and just being smart. That's what I will do. I will be telling myself, be smart. Don't go for that risky move, wherever it's cutting, where you want to go, whatever place around the mountain, there's many places, but don't go for those risky moves. Just be smart. I'll be ramming down my throat for 2 weeks, and then when I'm there, I'll just keep telling myself that to not be an idiot. So yeah.
Keep it calm. All right, mate. Do you want to shout out to anyone before we let you go? Because you did put on a stellar performance tonight.
Thank you. Just the usual, I guess. Again, Henry, of course, for the gorgeous car. Shame it's only going to get one more round. Well, we'll still obviously depend on season 2. We'll see what happens there. But for now, at least, it'll be one more round. And because I don't even do officials for R4, actually, to be honest. I don't even touch officials. So it doesn't really get much use, sadly, despite being a just drop-dead gorgeous livery. But huge thanks to Henry for that. And obviously the whole HR crew for being awesome. And big thanks to Ira for the championship. It's been an awesome series and been a heap of fun. So big thanks to Ira as always. He always puts on a great show. Does very well with his series. And yeah, big thanks to you guys for broadcasting it all season long.
Well, you guys make us look good, mate. Well done. And we'll call that a wrap with our two podiums tonight from Thomas Hins. So good result for him, and he will be keen to redeem that race 3 result when we come back for our final round in 2 weeks' time. So, Dave, we've got a couple of further podium getters ready to have a chat in the commentary box.
Absolutely, we do. It's under 11s cricket at Simspeed tonight. Everyone get to go, and James Chastity is going to join us. I'm counting the numbers here. This says you made up 20 positions across 3 races, and the bulk of them in race number 2, and you made some of those positions a little late in the final lap as well.
Yeah, thanks. It's interesting place to try and pass people, but I guess if you get a little bit of luck, I guess it works out.
And what about the racing? Because it did look like between equals passing was a challenge around here. Places like turn 1 or turn 7 just aren't a big enough braking zone in this car. You had a red hot go at turn number 5 for a couple of laps in that final race.
Yeah, it's kind of tricky to pass here. Sort of, you get a much better run with an outside line. So trying to go up the inside of someone's not always the best way around. So if you can get it done, it's pretty good. But yeah, the racing tonight is just awesome. I've had so much fun. This track is just amazing for these cars. And it's just I got a big smile on my face.
It's not a award that we properly give away in Ozicar, but having a quick look, I'd call you the round winner from tonight. Highest average finish is what it really looks like to me.
Yeah, I think that's sort of how I've sort of done this season. It's not exactly a lot of wins, but a lot of seconds. I guess that's my Aussie car sort of tradition at this point, especially with the skips as well. It was that was an ongoing joke for a long time. So I'm glad I can just keep continuing being consistently second.
Well, I think you'll be consistently second in the championship points after this one as well, and it heads to just one more round where Thomas Hins is already drilling into himself, just be smart.
Yeah, I guess that's pretty much how I've sort of approached this season as well. So, just try to have fun with each race and sort of see what happens and try not to worry about it too much. I find generally you do well in a championship if you're not worrying about it too much and you just put in the best race that you can. And I didn't have a lot of time to really get myself in the zone for tonight or practice through the week. So tonight was just have some fun and battle some people as best I can and see what I could get. Wasn't really expecting anything. So to get a good result out of it, super happy about it.
Yeah, there you have it. Consistency, the name of the day for you. Anyone you want to thank?
Yeah, so I want to thank the Banter Alliance and Locked On Boys as well. Shout out to all you guys for all the support and that, and tips you gave me in the 20 minutes leading up to this race. Helped a lot. All our sponsors, Bay 21 Coffee, VFS, Vehicle Finance Solutions, TR Wicello, Instructions, LGC Images, the Locked On guys, even though they're not podcasting, I'm sure they'll be back at some point, so keep an eye out for them. One Sport, clothing, and Kathy's Pet Portraits, and One Twine Design. I think I got them all this time. There
can't be space for many more on the card.
No, it's a long list. It's hard to write off the back of the head, but off the top of the head. So I get there in the end. But cheers to you guys as well for running the broadcast as well. It's awesome. It's awesome fun knowing that there's some commentary and some good camera angles going on, and looking at all the action, be able to watch it all back. So yeah, it just makes it a little bit extra special. So yeah, cheers to you guys for running things.
It's all about knowing that Donna Doyle is watching. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning.
I don't know if Sean was around tonight, so I don't know. Is she watching tonight? If she was, that's yeah. That's pretty good.
She's got a bit of
going.
Stockholm syndrome to the Aussie car potentially. We'll see.
Can't stay away. No, it's great. No, it's great that she's watching every week.
Hopefully you won't be able to stay away, and we'll see you at the final round in 2 weeks.
Yeah, cheers. Looking forward to it. Should be a lot of fun.
All right, there's one more for us here, Jason.
Yeah, we potentially saved the best to last. We're giving him a chance to cool down. He was getting a little bit worked up after race number 2, but he cannot be disappointed after the effort to bring home a win in the final race number 3 tonight. We're welcome to the commentary booth at Cam Dance.
Yeah, it was, not going to complain with race 3's result. Obviously a little bit disappointed with race 2, and then race 1 went pretty good as well. So very mixed up night, but definitely hit the championship with what happened in race 2, that's for sure.
It was a little bit of carnage there, and it was really a case of the wrong place at the wrong time, and just a circumstances around you found yourself with a meatball there. I think you dived into the pits, got that fast repair done, and from there it was just a matter of trying to salvage a position until the last corner of the last lap, and that just added a little bit of insult to injury. But to your credit, you wiped a clean slate, ready for race 3, and someone must have stuck a rocket in your back pocket, because that opening lap on race 3 was probably go down in Aussie car folklore.
Yeah, I mean, we broke the right front suspension in race 2, which wasn't ideal, which is why we had a meatball, and the spin on the last lap was actually because I was pushing so hard to try and set the fastest lap to see what I could get extra out of it already. But look, the way that we did race 1 and lap 1 of race 3 actually was just a matter of trying to move forward as quickly as possible, really. Obviously, gap was open. If it was going to be open enough, then it was just pretty much send it and see what happens. But we nearly binned it over the rise on at turn 2, where we ended up in the grass and had to do a bit of opposite lock driving. But really happy with the way that it all played out in the end. And just a general good way to end the night with race 3.
So we qualified on pole for race number 1 and led every lap of that, but you had plenty of good company with Thomas Hinz shadowing every move. Just had really good pace, looking for a way around, but this track did prove difficult to get past some of these drivers, particularly if they know where to place the car.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't actually too bad, to be honest. Like, looking at where Hinsey was trying to pass me and the way you were able to hold it around the outside or defend on the inside and not lose the position was actually pretty good. I mean, it's one of those tracks that you've got to really think corners ahead of where you are in order to actually set up an overtake and get the overtake done, because if you're going to be on the inside for one corner, it probably means you're going to be on the outside for the other corner, and then just the way that some of the corners flow means that you're going to balk yourself in some regards, so you sort of have to set yourself up to then get a run out of the corner that you're going to be passing on. So no, it's a really cool circuit. Like, to be honest, driving it tonight was actually really fun, even with how hard we were fighting and everything. So look, hopefully it returns next season because it's such a good track.
So we wrap up round number 11 and we focus on the final round, which is in a fortnight's time. We travel to Bathurst, which I think we've already visited once this season, but it will be an absolute stellar performance. I know you've done more laps around Bathurst than you probably care to count, and I can't remember your result the last time we were here, but normally you put on a pretty good show. So high hopes for next round.
Yeah, I think I finished third in the Enduro. I can't quite remember now whether it's second, one of the two. But it was pretty good result at Bathurst with the Enduro. Going to be a regular 2-race round next round, so we'll have to see what we can do. Pretty much just going to be going balls out really to try and score as many points as we possibly can. I've got no idea where we're going to end up in the championship, no idea where we are after this round either. So look, we'll just try and do what we can. Probably going to be a bit of a tough ask unless Lindsay has a big one, but can't count your chickens yet, so we'll just push on and carry what we can.
All right, mate, I'll throw it over. You can say a quick thank you to your sponsors or anyone else you'd like to mention before we let you go this evening.
Yeah, just obviously shout out to the boys at Hybrid Tune, Orbit Motorsport for all their support, and obviously our partners Hybrid Tune, Demon Tweaks, Fight CRC, Sim 3D. You guys for obviously the awesome broadcast, Ira and the team for the awesome series, and all the boys for the awesome racing as always.
Well, like I said, you guys on track are doing all the hard work, and we just get to sit back and enjoy the show. So, brilliant effort tonight, mate. A couple of wins and outside the top 10, but still not a complete write-off. So we'll come back in a fortnight's time, and it'll be pretty interesting just to see how close that championship battle is going into the final round.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, mate, that was our race 1 winner and race 3 winner here this evening at Barber Motorsport Park, Cam Dance, and showing everyone else the quick way around the circuit. And he has finished round 11 in the best possible way with a strong result and a drive through the field to take the win here tonight.
So what a thrill from Barber. If this graphic is to be believed, join us in a fortnight's time for Rowden 12 from Bathurst. You'll see it all here on Simspeed TV. We can't wait. Still a couple drivers in the hunt for it. And my goodness, there is 8 more reasons why you should subscribe to Simspeed TV for all this action coming to you. Great variety, some of the best Australian sim racing that there is to be found. I say Australian, I should say Oceanic, down under. We love our Kiwi buddies racing with us as well. David Haynes, Jason Fewens, Jay Kennedy producing. That's been the penultimate round of Ozicar Formula 4 Series. 1 round to go to decide a champion.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's going around the outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to him.
Oh my God! Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?